And we are live. I'm so excited. Today is Wednesday, April 29th, and I am so excited to share the stage with my friend, Paige Dest. And we're going to talk to you today about resilience, a social and emotional intelligence competency. But first, let me tell you about how I met Paige, and then I'll let you introduce yourself, Paige. So Paige and I both went to did some training through the Institute for Social and Emotional Intelligence. And we did that. It's 2 years now that we've done that.
Yeah.
And then from that time, we have been involved in a monthly mastermind, really just kind of continuing our education and growth around our own understanding and growing our own social and emotional intelligence, but also how we can actually help others as social and emotional intelligence coaches. So Paige, I want you to introduce yourself, tell everyone about the lovely things you're doing, and then I'll take my turn and then we'll dive into our topic.
That sounds great, Jen. I really appreciate you asking me to be on this show with you, and I'm very honored. And as you know, I think social emotional intelligence is so important. I think especially now. And as you know, I was in banking for about 30 years, and about 5-6 years ago, I stepped outside of that and started learning about social emotional intelligence. So I do coaching and I do retreats, and I also founded a nonprofit to support social and emotional learning in schools. And I work a lot with emotional self-care. It's kind of my niche.
Okay. Excellent. One of the things that I love.
I saw the comment.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in a different screen, I think. One of the things I love about social and emotional intelligence, and why I felt it was going to be a good match to what I do through GenQuest, my business as a leadership coach and a business consultant, I work with a lot of leaders. And what I love about social and emotional intelligence, and why I wanted to get this certification, is that it focuses on our behavior and what we can choose to change, because behavior can be changed.
Right.
So many times we'll look at like assessments and personality things, and sometimes that feels like it's putting us in a box. But with social and emotional intelligence, we focus not only on our strengths, what we naturally do well, but where there are opportunities. And because it's all behavior based, guess what? We get to make those changes. So my business is GenQuest, and I am, like I said, a leadership coach and a business consultant. And I'm going live right now, both on my business page, but also in my Facebook community, the Intentional Growth Club. So hi, IGC. We're happy to be live in 2 places. And we're going to, again, like I said, we're going to talk about resilience today. And one of the things that, of course, why we're talking about this competency is it's among 26 different competencies that has been identified by the Social and Institute for Social and Emotional Intelligence. It's a mouthful. So ISEI, I've tried to say it so everyone understands, but we work with what we call a 4-quadrant model. And I'm just going to save some time by not sharing screens, and I'm just going to actually put it up to the camera so everybody can see the 4-quadrant model. And if you notice, it has a self column and an other column. And we're going to be playing in that self-management quadrant today when we talk about resilience. And did you want to say anything more about ISEI or social and emotional intelligence or the 4-quadrant model?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. I'm very, like I said, excited to be here. And I think there's different models out there. I know I work a lot with 6 Seconds. I'm the global coordinator for their pop-ups for the mentors. And they have a different model, but I think the 4-quadrant model that the ISEI uses really pulls everything together and helps you understand yourself and others a little bit better. So I'm glad that we're doing this. And I think resilience, as you have mentioned when we were discussing this, is important in this time and beyond. But especially right now, I think it's a perfect topic.
Yeah. So let's define resilience. I have another little hold up slide so that everybody can see a definition of resilience. And resilience is simply perseverance and diligence in the face of setbacks. And so we definitely have a time where we have a lot of setbacks. There's clearly a lot of people that are struggling right now.
Yes,
This is
yes.
not easy. And, there's not a single person that's not untouched by
Right.
the events. Now, Paige, you're out on the East Coast, you're in Connecticut. So your
Hmm.
experience with COVID-19 is going to be
Right.
different than what my experience is as being part
Exactly.
of a tri-state community in the middle in Evansville, Indiana.
Right.
And so from a point of understanding, everyone is struggling.
Exactly. And even one thing that I've even noticed as of late, because I do work with a global company, so I'm working with people globally, is it really kind of is a big equalizer because we are all facing this, even people, across the pond, as they say, and in Europe and Africa and Japan, China, all that, it's it's a different time for everybody. So I think that it's really a time for us all to kind of come together and understand each other a little bit better, but help each other have resilience. So I think that it's wonderful we're covering this topic because sometimes people don't realize how resilient they are. They think they're not until they turn around and see how far they have come.
Yeah. 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 It's oh, somebody
Yeah.
said yes. There we go. It's
Yes.
a
Yes.
show, and I just clicked the button. There we go. So I love the fact that we're learning during this period of time as a coach and as a leader. I know that we learn in these times. We definitely learn in times where we are having to figure out what we're made of. And
Exactly. Times when we're challenged. Yes.
times when we're challenged, and we're definitely in that space right now.
Right.
And one of the things we need to learn is how we're going to work through that and how we're going to grow our resilience and improve our resilience. And some people may say you may not be able to improve it, but I think we've got some tips today that will help that. And you were getting ready to say something.
No, and I was kind of gonna reiterate what you said. I think it's a lovely opportunity for people to learn, to grow, and to realize who they can be, that strength they really do have inside, that resilience that they have inside. And as you mentioned, we're going to be going over a few tips today. So hopefully people will take heed and let us know how they're making out with their resilience.
Definitely. So we have a wonderful toolkit through ISEI, the Institute for Social and Emotional Intelligence. They provided us with some wonderful tools. And amongst those tools, of course, we get some information in regards to what some of those tips might be. Because as I mentioned, Paige, we're right there with you. We may be certified coaches, we may be studying this, but we're also needing in this time to work on our personal resilience. Right. And so one of the first things I did was dig out the competencies that were really coming into play for myself personally. And when I looked at what some of the tips were, I went, well, like, that makes sense, right? That makes perfect sense. And one of the tips, of course, is just really how we spend that time in our head, that self-talk. And I had a group session yesterday, and we had that conversation where, there's so much going on up here. We're thinking about so many things. We're wanting to do so many things, and how we're feeling and what we're telling ourselves. So that self-talk that we're exercising right now, that we're practicing, whether it's good or not so good, that's going to impact us in the long run right now.
Definitely.
And that's going to change how we come out of this as well. So do you have any self-talk tips that you want to pass along? I know that you do a lot of retreats. And I'm sure that you have some good tips on that.
Yes, I do like to say what you think is where you live. So you want to think positively, because whatever thoughts you have, whatever you say to yourself is the perspective you're going to have. And I bet if people look at it, they notice that they say things to themselves they would not say to other people, or they would not say to a friend. True. So when you're thinking about that self-talk, you want to really look at how negative is it? How accurate is it? Some of the things that we fear are not true. Things that we feel, our emotions speak the truth to us because they are a chemical reaction to the stimulus around us. But our thoughts can often lie, right, Jen?
They
You
sure.
know, you think things, you say things, and a lot of it comes out of fear, out of times of uncertainty. And it's okay. You want to accept that and not beat yourself up for it. But you need to recognize that a lot of the thoughts come from a place of untruth. And you want to try to look at what is the realistic picture.
Yeah.
What is the positive here? What can I learn? Where can I grow? So I think speaking to yourself like a true best friend can make a big difference.
Yeah. If you were going to give yourself counsel, what would you say?
Right. Exactly.
What would you say? And I live alone. So guess what? I've been having a lot of conversations.
You've been talking to yourself a bit
too much now. But some of that is I'll catch myself in that moment of having maybe a negative thought. And then I'll jerk myself back and say, nope, Jen, that is not what you need to be telling yourself right now.
Right.
And we're in my self-talk, sometimes, like you said, it's not reality based.
Right.
Sometimes we have a tendency to be much more doomsday in what's happening with our self-talk than what the reality is.
Right.
And one of the other tips that we have that was suggested as well was just really self-care in this moment. And going back to the conversation I was having yesterday with a couple of people, it's really all about what are we doing? Are we really breathing in and taking time and focusing on our self-care? And that means that we need to give ourselves some grace during this period of time as well.
Exactly.
And I think that the conversation where I had yesterday went in the direction of we're trying to we feel like we need to write a great American novel, or we need to accomplish great feats, and we need to do all these things because we now many of us have time that we didn't have before. But that can cause problems in and of itself. So we need to figure out some self-care. So if you were to suggest just a couple of tips, because I know you've done some self-care challenges and some of the different things just to take care of ourselves, what would you recommend as a number one thing to focus on if you're going to do some self-care activities? What would that be?
Well, as you know, I just ran an emotional self-care challenge, and I do emotional self-care retreats. Self-care and emotional self-care is a lot of where I do some work and some outreach. And I think doing some meditation, really kind of quieting your soul, even if it's a couple minutes, or if you can do 10 minutes, kind of quieting your soul, quieting your thoughts. If you have thoughts, that's okay, but let them float by. Don't judge them. Don't focus on them. Just quiet your mind. And this actually makes a difference in the brain. They've done brain scans with people that meditate versus people that didn't. And people that meditate tend to have a wandering mind less, so they can focus more. And I think being able, when we're talking about the self-care, the self-talk, you can focus better on what's true when you practice meditation. So that would just be one of the suggestions that I have. When you're meditating, you can do a body scan that helps you focus a little bit. Another thing to kind of brighten yourself is just to have a little dance party. Even if you're all by yourself, put on some fun music and just kind of dance like nobody's watching. I know you and I have done it, Jen, when we've been on our calls. Sometimes we put some music on and just had a good old time. And it really can do the soul good. It really can also be healthy for you because of the chemicals that it gets going in your body. So I think that's another emotional self-care tip that I would suggest. And make sure you get sleep.
Yes.
When you're not getting good rest, that's when your body heals itself. That's when it resets itself. So if you're not allowing yourself to sleep between 7 and 8 hours, generally, depending, there's different ranges for different ages, but generally speaking, 7 to 8 hours, you're doing yourself a disservice. So you really need to make sure you get that good rest.
Yeah. I know I've shared with you recently that I've actually been playing with an app that has a meditation option where it helps go to sleep. And every time I turn on that meditation sounding music that's designed just for good sleep, I'm
Right.
not just like that.
Good.
And I know that that's just one of the things that we need to do. So those
Right.
of you who are on live, I would really like to know what you're going to do to improve your resilience. Are you going to work on that self-talk or do some kind of element of self-care? I'd really love to see that in the chat. And then I want to also go ahead and post in the chat a link to a tool that both Paige and I use with our clients. And it's this tool called Putting It in Perspective.
Right.
It's a questionnaire. And what it does is it really helps you go from the place that you are to understand, worst case scenario, but then also the really great thing, it helps you understand best case, or what's the possibility that can be there. Because I think it's easy for us to see a worst case scenario,
Right.
but I think we need to spend a little bit of time to dig deeper and to see what the best is that can come out of this moment.
Right.
And what I have found in talking to others, especially I work with some leaders, some entrepreneurs, and what they're finding is that as they're working hard to pivot their business, they're learning new ways to deliver to their clients. I have one friend who is in one of my communities, and she did her lunch and learn online. So she was able to invite people that were not geographically local. So her influence, her ability to
that footprint is getting expanded, right?
Expanded. So it was a real good positive thing that has come through this. So someone said that they want to work on their self-talk. I think that's awesome.
I think that's excellent.
Yes.
Definitely. I think what this perspective tool also does, it goes through worst case, the best case, as you said, which opens up some opportunities. It opens up your mind and expands what could be. And then it also, the last element is running that balance. So I think, there's balance to everything. So, it opens up your learning, and that gives you information. And the more information you have, the more balanced and true to yourself you can be. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. So it looks like someone else said they need all of the above: sleep more, meditate, and be careful how they talk to themselves.
Yes.
Give yourself some grace. Absolutely. Yes. Give yourself some grace.
If you do those things, you will notice a difference.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm. And we're saying that, and I know I have those personal moments where I'm not so giving myself the grace. One of the things about Paige is she's also my accountability partner. And so we have some pretty deep conversations about how we're feeling sometimes. And that's another way for you to work through this moment, definitely, is you have someone that can be that person that you're comfortable with, you feel safe with, that you can share how you're feeling, and they're not there to fix it. They're not on the fix it crew. What they're there for is just for that sounding board, for you to be able to vent to them safely, because I know there are some of you that are alone like me, and some of you may be feeling a little crowded right now because of maybe a lot more people in your household all day long, and maybe more people trying to work from home and help with children with schoolwork, and you're learning things that you did not know that you needed to know.
Right.
Especially with homeschooling. And I think that sometimes we can get into this space of we've got to be the superhero. We got to do it all and do it all well. And that goes back to that grace that we need to give ourselves. And really get clear on the opportunities that can come, not just the worst situation that might come out of this.
And I think resilience is not all about being the superhero. Resilience is having that perseverance to push through. And often the way that you push through is by learning, gaining knowledge of yourself, like you said, with other businesses, gaining knowledge of other ways to do things. This is how you build that muscle, that resilience muscle. It's not about necessarily being the best. It's about being your best.
Yes.
Whatever that means for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important element. And I appreciate what you said about each of us being there, because I do think it's important to have somebody that gives you that safe space, that allows you to just be without necessarily judging you or telling you what to do, just is there for you, just sitting beside you. I think that's an important thing. And I think that also kind of helps you build resilience, because it lets you talk out loud a little bit instead of just always in your head. Sometimes when you say things out loud, that instead of saying it in your head, when you say it out loud, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that didn't really sound very good. So that's another tip too, kind of, is to have that person, that safe person that you can be with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. I agree, Jen, totally.
Yeah. I like how you said that, because I too, sometimes in here, it's a lot more overwhelming and serious. And then sometimes when you say things out loud, you go, okay, maybe I have my own answer.
Right.
I got the answer just by verbalizing it. Sometimes that happens. So those of you that are in the IGC, by this point, you will have received your 2 challenge pieces for today to be entered into some win prize drawings that I'm offering at the end of this week. So what other questions do you all have? Those of you that are on live, do you have any questions? Do you have any other thoughts in regards to resilience and how you can really work on that piece where you can grow and become more persevering? And I like the concept of diligence, because I think that diligence is one of those things that never give up, that continue to work hard, and that's what we need to remember, that this period of time is going to come to an end. There's going to be another side to it. And so, we want to make sure that we stay a little bit in that mode of, I can make this happen. I can do this.
Right.
And I know that I've talked to my community some about, like, this is a time to really focus on not what you can't control, but what you can control.
Exactly. It is all about the mindset that you allow yourself to have, that resilient mindset, and to realize the things that you do say to yourself, to realize that there are opportunities as you're speaking, and with your IGC group, they also have seen that, I'm sure, in the different talks that you've had and the different coaching experiences that you've given, is the more that you can keep that mindset, you're going to see yourself moving forward. And really, that's what it's all about, because when we're in this time right now, and when we're let loose, so to speak, it is all still about moving forward, learning, growing, giving grace to yourself. But as you say, being diligent and making sure you're always taking that step, even if it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, it still equals a step forward. And that's the important thing to realize, to allow yourself to fall, because that's how you learn to get up.
Yeah, definitely. And it's okay if you just get one thing accomplished.
Right. Because that's one thing.
That's one thing. And then, that's worth, well, Paige, that's worth a clap.
That's your clapper.
That's worth a clapper. Just get that one thing done. Don't set yourself up for disappointment. Get one thing done. What's the one thing you can do today that's going to move you forward? It could be something small, or it could be a project you just need to work through a stage of. What's that one thing that when you put your head on the pillow at night, you've made progress? So, all good stuff. So I don't see any more questions that have come over. And I know we're probably catching people at lunchtime, and I don't want to keep them too long. But
I appreciate everybody stepping in and letting us be there with them.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for showing up and taking the time with us today live to ask questions or participate. And those of you in the Intentional Growth Club, don't forget to to post in response to the challenge questions.
I look forward to those challenge questions, people. I will be looking.
Paige is going to look too. She's going to look for it too. We definitely love your participation, and I saw some things.
Thank you.
And thank you, Paige, for
thank you.
this time. And if you want to find Paige, I'll put up her
website
real quick, if I can just find it real fast. That's Paige's information where you can find
EYO Destiny. So you bring your own destiny, because everybody has that special place on earth that they belong.
Yeah.
So that's where the name of my business comes from. So definitely check me out. But I will be checking out you guys on your group Facebook, Jenn.
Okay. Well,
and thank you so much for this opportunity. I think you do amazing. You're amazing. And I'm very, very glad to be your cohort on the ISCI team.
Well, thank you. And thank you all again for showing up live. We're going to end the broadcast, and you all have a wonderful day, and take care of yourselves and give yourself some grace today.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.